Welcome to the Light of Sirio podcast. My name is Dori Fari and I will speak with a realized spiritual master about his views on life and the topic of spirituality.
Om Namah Savan Savan Namo 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 Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namo Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namo Om Namah Jaibo Ajaibo Namo Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namo Om Namah Savan Savan Namo Om Namah Savan Savan Namo Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namo Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namo Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namo Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namo Om Namah Savan Savan Namo.
So we arrived now to the third episode of season 4, and here I am again with Master Sirio. And before beginning this episode, I would like to let everyone know that today is a special day because it's the 12th of May and the birthday of Master Sirio when this episode is being published. So dear Master, I wish you many happy birthday.
I didn't even know it's the 12th.
So it's a special episode on a special day. And so then let's begin the episode. I received some questions regarding the practical side of the spiritual practice. But before we go to these questions, since we mentioned that it's your birthday, today now on the 12th of May, and we just recently had the spring spiritual retreat in the Sandvani Ashram on the occasion of the anniversary of your holy initiation, which happened on the 25th of April, and the date of the initiation is also considered as a spiritual birthday. So how is it the birthday in our worldly life when we are born, the day, and then the day when we are initiated? So how do they relate to each other? In your case, they are very near to each other.
I never gave much importance to my physical birthday, really. but always gave importance to my spiritual birthday, because on that date, since many years, maybe 45 years, we always had a retreat. So we had always a retreat for either a week or more or less a week. So it was a very special celebration of days in which lots of beautiful things happened, lots of upliftment, lots of bliss, blessings, and intoxication. So that's the way to celebrate our birthday, spiritual birthday. Physical birthday, it's important really. When we are born in this world, it's actually the day of our death. So, what to celebrate? The day of our death? Well, it can be celebrated also, but the death, the real death, when we will leave this world, that has to be celebrated again. But the day of birth, maybe it has some importance, because during this lifetime anyway, we keep learning things, we keep improving and growing. So also this lifetime on the physical plane, it's important. Anyway, it's good to celebrate everything. Eventually, that's it. Let's celebrate.
Well, I am always very happy to celebrate the date of your initiation, because then we have a wonderful program here in the Sandvani Ashram every year with you for a week. But then I am also very happy to celebrate your physical birthday, because for us Satsang is a very nice event. So if you allow me on this occasion, I don't want to sing to you the banal happy birthday to you, but I would like just to sing 2 lines of a song which we Satsangis wrote to you some years ago. So just to greet you this way. Happy birthday to you, Master Sirio Sirio. Happy birthday to you, Master. In us you live forever. Happy birthday to you, Master. Stay with us forever. Happy birthday to you, Master. We love you forever. I'm sorry I don't have the best of my voice. I've been sick for weeks with coughing, but my very sincere and most sincere and most heartfelt best wishes to you, dear Master.
Thank you.
So then moving on towards the questions which were sent to us, it was very much about the spiritual practice, how to apply it in the everyday life, because you also often say, especially during meditation retreats, that it's very important to do these retreats and do the regular meditation practice, but that's not enough. That when we reach a level, then we experience the divine light and sound, then we have to try to apply it in our everyday life and keep it. So that during retreats, one can reach, let's say, a more elevated level of consciousness. And the question was then how one can keep this uplifted level of consciousness the best way during the everyday life, during the daily routine.
Just while you were saying this, came to my mind an event of a trip to India in Rajasthan to see Sanji. And of course, in India, what did you do? Like in our retreats, you did a lot of meditation. You listened to the Master Satsang, sang the bhajans, did Simran, and of course you had wonderful experiences. At least I must say I had wonderful experiences. So my consciousness was really very uplifted, always. So when we eventually left the retreat and we went back to Delhi, usually we would stay in a hotel, which was a 5-star hotel.
Ooh.
Because I don't know why they choose a 5-star hotel, because maybe after Rajasthan being so extremely simple, they wanted us maybe to experience something fancy in Delhi, at least 1 day or 2 days there in Delhi. Anyway, so we were in this hotel. We were a group of 40-50 people. So some of them, I don't know if they asked me or I invited them to come to my room to have a satsang. So they came to my room to have a satsang, and I already saw that being in this, let's say, worldly environment, which was the 5-star hotel, their consciousness had already been sunk down into the stupidities of this world. So I remember during that satsang I said, we should not allow that right after leaving the ashram, we find ourselves here, we already forget everything of what has happened during the retreat. Let's keep our consciousness up. Let's keep our remembrance of what we just experienced. So this is just an example of how very soon after retreats, number of people, I don't say everybody, thanks God not everybody, but quite a number of people, they just like to go back to the small pleasures of life. Let's go for an ice cream, let's go for a pizza, let's go to amuse ourselves. And let's try a bit to forget as quick as possible all this Simran which we have done these days. So we find ourselves back again into this very common state of consciousness.
Okay, but I apologize, but I must make a comment here about the pizza and ice cream and things, because when we have retreats in the Sadhmani ashram, not everybody might know it, but then it's Master Sirio to prepare the food himself. He's a very good chef. And all the food that is given out is parshad, and everybody says that they feel like in heaven eating this food, and everybody just wants the receipts, the preparation, how to prepare these delicious and healthy meals. So in this case, maybe when they are here in the ashram, then they enjoy the beautiful parshad food. And then when they go away, they can't find it anywhere else.
Oh, this is nothing to do with what I was saying. Anyway. It's blessed food. Like we had in the ashram also in India, it was very good prasad there also. And here it's also very good. At least people say they like it, so it's good. Anyway, this is not for me. I mean, when they are here, they enjoy the food and it's okay. But I mean, after we leave the retreat, we should not, as quick as possible, go back in the ordinary state of consciousness. We should keep this sweet remembrance of what has happened, pondering over all the teachings which have been given. That's the wise way of behaving after retreat. Keep silence and just try to keep tuning in with this holy presence which you have experienced during the retreats. That's what I mean to say.
Well, when I read this question, automatically came into my mind that in your autobiography, which is called The Path Towards Enlightenment, there is a chapter in which you write about the spiritual practice, and you write about Simran also. And in that part of that chapter, you write about the constant repetition of Simran. If I remember well, you also mentioned a book, if I remember well, the title, like Tales of the Russian Pilgrim, and how you made your own personal experience with the constant Simran. And I thought that's also a very great way to keep up the level of consciousness, keep high the level of consciousness in the everyday life. And could you talk about this also?
Well, let's say this Constant Simran practice is the most helping factor in keeping the consciousness up, and also in training ourselves in developing this habit, which then has to become a second nature of repeating the Simran. So, in all the mystical paths, this practice of constant repetition, constant remembrance, it is very much praised and very much advised, because that's the way to really keep tuned in with the divine presence, because it is said that between the named one and his name there is no difference. So if you repeat the names of what is your divinity, then you get tuned in with it, and you get lots of blessings. So about this book which you mentioned and the effect that it had on me personally, well, I've written a bit in my book. Those who have read my book, they already know what was my experience with this book. If you haven't read the book, then I can tell you a bit. This book had always a very profound effect on me. I mean, Master Sanji, they always talked about Constant Simran, develop Constant Simran. Especially Sanji was very much into it. It was a constant mantra. It was a constant mantra. Develop Constant Simran. You have to develop Constant Simran. Then you are a real Satsangi. So anyway, it's difficult to get the input to start in this adventure of coming to a Constant Simran, because it's easy to say it, not so easy to do it, I assure you. And if anybody has tried it, then you will know how difficult it is, because that's really phasing the mind. The mind doesn't like to be encaged and given up while your attention is totally involved in this repetition. The mind wants to wander, and if you're busy with the repetition, the mind doesn't have any space to wander, and so it's like a naughty boy that you put into a cage, and this begins crying and screaming and getting mad.
Like sometimes you said about the mind, like the monkey mind. The mind is like a monkey. So the monkey rebels.
Not just a monkey, but a drunken monkey.
Extreme combination.
So anyway, yeah, then this book came into my hands somehow. I don't remember who gave it to me, if I bought it. At some point I bought it, but the very first time somebody I think borrowed it to me. So I read this story, the story of this pilgrim, how he began his spiritual practice when he met his master. His master first told him, sit down peacefully, focus your attention and repeat this mantra, which according to the Christian tradition, especially to the Eastern Church, like the Greek and the Orthodox, Byzantine, they used to repeat this very simple prayer of like, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. That's it. So keep repeating it while you relax and focus your attention, then the grace of God will come to you. So I tried. In the beginning it was working, but then after some time he began falling asleep, and it didn't work anymore. So I became disappointed and went back to his master and told him, look, it's not working. I'm falling asleep and it's not really working. What to do? So he said, I think you're not ready for this kind of practice. So you should begin first by making it verbally, repeating it verbally. So begin like this. So in the beginning, I advise you to do 3,000 repetitions. And use a mala, a rosary or a mala to do this repetition, so you can count them. Because it's very important that you do 3,000. So he went back to his place where he was staying, and he began doing the repetition 3,000 in a day. In the beginning it was very difficult to reach it. He went on up to late evening in order to make these 3,000 repetitions.
He was very determined.
Yeah. The second day it was easier. The third day he could finish before the sunset, let's say. So he went on like this for a couple of weeks, 3,000 per day. Eventually, after a few days, it became very easy to do them, and he would finish much sooner than the day would end. Of course, I mean, he was not working. He had nothing to do. He was just a guardian of a garden in that case. That's what he was doing as a job. And they gave him a hut to stay in. He was a pilgrim. So he kept busy doing this. By and by he began liking it and became easy. So after, I don't know if it was 10 days or 2 weeks, he went back to his master and told him, good, I've been succeeding and it has become very pleasant and very easy to do it. I finish very soon now. He said, okay, so from now on, 6,000.
Ooh.
So he began doing this 6,000, very difficult. From 3,000 to 6,000 is double. So the very first days he went on really up to midnight or so in order to succeed in these 6,000 repetitions. And then second day a bit better, third day might improve, and eventually again he became accustomed to it, and he could finish quite soon. So 6,000. There he began to experience something more. I mean, like an inner bliss, an inner intoxication, and so much love radiating from his heart. So love for God. He became really, he really fell in love, let's say, with God eventually. Because, as I say, between the name and the named one, there is no difference. And if you go deep into the name, then you get to the named one. So eventually, after I think 2 weeks again, he went back to his master and told him, okay, in the beginning it was very difficult, really. 6,000 from 3,000, it was quite a job. But I managed with lots of effort. Eventually better and better and better. Now it's very easy for me, 6,000. So I told him, very good, I'm very happy with you. Now go for 12,000.
Ooh, that's tough.
So from 6,000 to 12,000, double again. First days, terrible, really. His mind was, if you try, you will see, your mind is really burned out, fused, you know. It's very, very tough. And you really have to do it constant and quick, because that's the point, you know. Some people say you don't have to do it quick, but otherwise it's no good. But it's not true, because quantity brings up quality. So if you want to do such a busy and intense repetition, then you really have to go quick, especially if you want to do so many. So I began 12,000, I don't know, I went on, I think, up to late in the night, in the beginning. Then less and less and less, it would finish sooner and sooner and sooner. Eventually, he got into it, 12,000. He was continuously, he didn't have a moment of, you know, getting lost into the whirlings of the mind. So very busy, you know, like this.
But could he do anything else besides?
No, it wasn't working. No, when you do such a repetition, At least in the beginning, you must be very busy and only busy with that. So he went on like this, and he was a guardian of this garden, so he would go out sometimes. And he says, by and by, this hut in which I was living, which was a very simple place, it became like a palace to me. It was so beautiful. Everything began to shine and being so beautiful, because everything became like a manifestation of God. And really, God radiated, and the divine light radiated through everything. And he developed such an intense love for God, and he went into bliss and ecstasy. He was so much uplifted. So he went back to his master after 15 days again, and he told him, I succeeded. The beginning was terribly difficult, but then by and by, better and better and better. Now I get to it very easily, and I enjoy it very much, and this is what I am experiencing now. He told him all about what he was experiencing.
But then it sounds like not just like a higher state of consciousness, it sounds like a complete shift in his consciousness.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Complete shift, not just upliftment, but very uplifted. So his master told him, okay, now I think it's very much implanted in you, this repetition. So you don't need to count anymore. From now on, just go on repeating it without counting. Mm-hmm. So he went on like this, eventually left the place because autumn came. This was during the summer that he had this job of taking care of this garden. Eventually, his boss told him, we don't need you anymore because in the winter the garden is in Russia, it's snow and there is no garden, so you can go. So he went and he's wondering. What he did was going to pilgrimages. There are several places of pilgrimage in Russia which are very, let's say, venerated, honored by the devotees. So he kept going from one place to pilgrimage to the other. And in all these wanderings, he kept doing his repetition, and he had such wonderful experiences, such wonderful encounters also, because when you are in that state of grace, then everything becomes magic. All the meetings that you have with any people, with any situation, everything is like divine event. That's how it is.
Well, it sounds beautiful, and I know that you also had your own experiences with the constant repetition when you dedicated periods in your life to do constant repetition. But still, it's a very crucial point on the path of Surya Yoga, that one has to earn the honest living and make the living. And we also say often that the greatness of this path is that one doesn't have to become a monk or a pilgrim, and we can stay in the world and have family and have a job. And I mean that it's very important also for the spiritual growth to be capable to live our everyday little life and apply this kind of upliftment, higher level of consciousness in this everyday life. So how can the two things be connected?
So, as I say, in the beginning, it's very important to take a few days if you want to get into it. Like, you take a weekend, instead of going fooling around or sleeping half a day and the night and then maybe out to midday. You know what you do if you are a true seeker of God. You get up early in the morning on Saturday and Sundays and get busy with your spiritual practice. That's how it is. So you can do your work, your 5 days work, and the other 2 days dedicate them to more spiritual practice. Now, I'm not advising or advocating that you get to this kind of repetition like the pilgrim indeed. But in those 2 days, or when you have some holidays, if you want to really get into what is the juice of a spiritual path, that's what you have to do. Instead of going for vacation at the beach, you get into your
or to the mountains,
or to the mountains, whatever. So, in my case, when I read this book, I thought, wow, if he did it, why shouldn't I be able to do it? And because I was doing Simran, of course. I took initiation from Master Kripal. I was doing lots of meditation. It was especially in those very 2 first years, I was doing my meditation all the time. But then when I stopped meditating, yes, I did the Simran, but not so really focused on it. So when I read this thing, I thought, wow, I have to try this. So I began doing these, I think, these 3,000 repetitions. I began counting them. And I went on for 3 days. And of course, I was doing lots of meditation also, and at the same time I was doing the repetition. And then I began really having incredible experiences, like flying out of the body like anything, and experiences such an intense spiritual power that I thought, my God, this is going to be, this is too much for me now.
Sounds very extreme almost.
Yes, my mind really felt like being fused, like melted. And so I had to I stopped it because it was becoming too much. I kept doing my many hours of meditation, which I was doing, but after the meditation, I wouldn't get too busy with the Simran. So.
So for this seems like this very intense, constant repetition is not for families with small children. Because there are many phases in life. So there are phases in which you have to do certain things, and there are phases in which, if you are true seeker of God, you will do these other things. But actually, I also would like to share something from my own experience that mentioning small kids. That when my son was born, he had very severe health issues, just to cut it short, and so he had to stay in hospital at the intensive care unit, and then of course it was very shocking, like a trauma. And then you just thought to me, don't project yourself into any possible future. That was the advice that you gave me, and you repeat the Simran. So then I really began to repeat the Simran, and it was amazing experience that also one can have like this cycle, or like the Simran becomes like a never-ending spiral in your mind, that it goes on, and maybe you talk to somebody or you do something, but it's going on, and you don't think too much. You just do like act and move and speak in an instinctive way. Then I have noticed then everything that happens is much more guided, much more blessed. And I had very beautiful experiences there in that period, because then it has really become instant, and it becomes like inhaling and exhaling the Simran itself, like so constant, like even the breath that you take is the Simran. But still you are there, but then of course then it's not the same intensity if you are fully focused in it, as you described it, that you said that you felt your mind like fused, because then it's just like a lighter repetition. So that brought a question to me, comparing this my experience which I had some years ago, and the experience which you described when you did your period of constant repetition of the Simran. So are there several techniques for this known, or I mean, what practical advice could we give to those who listen to us and would like to try it? Because maybe as you said, of course, that there are several phases of life, and in every phase of life we have to do those things which are meant for that phase of life. But still, maybe somebody would like to try it and have a small child, or is doing a job in which, I mean, you can't take out too many holidays or whatever. So what can we say to those who would like to try?
I think in the beginning to use a mala is very important if you can do it. If you can't do it using the mala, then you count them. That's very important. If you don't count them, you won't be able to do it. In most of the cases, there are exceptions to all possible things, but I think that either use the mala or you count it and write it down how much you do it, because you need a method. Without method, you don't succeed. If you just pretend that you go on repeating, and that your mind leaves you busy in your repetition, it won't happen. Very soon you will find yourself in 10 years ago, in 3 years in the future, wondering and fantasizing about all possible things and remembering things, and you will realize that, oh, long ago I forgot the Simran. So anyway, in my case, those were 3 days. Then after a few years, I again read this book and again got the input. And I went on, I don't remember now for how long, 15 days or 20 days that time. And there I experienced really wonderful things. I was living here already, and this ashram became not this ashram. It was not this ashram anymore, but it became like heaven on earth. And there was such a magnetism, and everything was driven and guided by this magnetism and this holy presence. I experienced intense love for God, many revelations, many intuitions, very deep intuitions, so many things. But then, again, by the way, it's very difficult when you have a family, and I had a family at the time, you have a job, and it's very difficult to keep this intensity. So anyway, but at the time I was working also, and I was also doing the works here, but yet I really managed to do a very, very intense repetition. And when I would sit in meditation, I would just go right away within, in the light, without any effort. Then I just went back to my several hours of meditation every day, but living this intensity when I was not meditating. And then again, after some years, I think it was 1992 or 93, again I had this input. How do you get this input? You pray for it. So when I felt this need, this urge, and I wanted this intensity, I really prayed to God, please give me back this, give me back this, give me back this. You know, keep bombing God with your requests. And then eventually something will happen. So again, I read this book again. It was many years I didn't have it in my hands. And it had always this incredible effect on me. So I read it, and again I go back to it. So I started on, and wow, I went on for 6 months.
Ooh.
And I was working. The job I was having at the time, I had possibility to anyway, when I was really busy working, I had all the time to get busy with it, with the repetition. So I went on like this for 6 months, and there I really experienced the most wonderful things and the most great revelations, and I really came to know who I am, what I'm meant to do in life, and all that has happened later on, it was revealed to me during those 6 months, and that I had this work to do, which I already had been, let's say, told in so many occasions. But in those 6 months, it became so clear that my destiny was to do this work of my master, give initiation, and satsang, and all these things which I'm doing. And in time, this became a fact, a reality. So those 6 months were really the most wonderful months of my life. And I was working. I was doing all the things which I'm doing now. But at that point I was so intensely into it that even during the work which I was doing, even by doing the work which I was doing, I was able to, like the pilgrim, after the 12,000, he didn't have to repeat them anymore. He became so ingrained in him that he could do other things, walk, do things, and yet do the repetition. Do these constant Simran. What does it mean, Simran? Simran means remembrance. Keep remembering the names of God, keep repeating them. Anyway, in Sant Mata they advise mental repetition, but to me it's again like a number of things of Sant Mata is to be, let's say, discussed, because most of the people are not capable of doing this mental repetition. So it's like telling elementary boy goes for the first year to the elementary school, telling things of a graduated person. Do these things, these for mathematical formulas, these chemical formulas, and he won't be able to do it. So he would just, let's say, do nothing eventually. Either sleep or stop doing this practice, like it happens with so many satsangis. So, what I advise is that you do it in all possible ways. There is no limit, and there is no set rule. If it works mentally, well and good. If it doesn't work mentally, then whisper it. If it doesn't work whispering it, sing it. Repeat it loudly when you are alone, and you can do it. Do it in all possible ways. That's my advice. But beside this, enjoy everything you do. Beside the fact of the constant Simran or the repetition of a mantra, the other way of keeping up your consciousness is to really be focused on what you're doing, anything you're doing, any work you're doing. Master Kripa used to say, do one thing at a time, wholly and solely. So just be focused on what you're doing. When I cut the grass here, it's heavy, eh? This brush cutter which I have, it's some 5-6 kilos or 7. I don't quite know how it is, but it's heavy.
Well, it depends the weight, how long do you use it, because by time I think it becomes always heavier as you hold it.
I don't know. In my case, I get...
At least the feeling, I meant.
In my case, I get so busy with it that eventually I don't even know if I have it in my hands or I don't have it in my hands. I just keep doing it, and I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I can assure you what I do with this brush cutter in 1 hour, other people would take 5 hours. And I'm not exaggerating. I've had people here doing what I do, and they took 1 day doing what I do in 2-3 hours.
Yes, I'm a testimony.
So, the other way to enjoy your life is just be focused, fully focused in what you're doing, and try to stop this chattering of the mind, this remembering and fantasizing about everything. So, just be there where you are. Do one thing at a time. Live in the living present. Do constant Simran. This is the way to keep your consciousness up. That's all.
Oh, well, and another thing also, listen to this podcast and shake up your mind.
Yes, listen to this podcast, listen to the satsangs, sing bhajans with full attention, always.
Well, actually, it's very interesting that what I often mention in this Light of Sirio spiritual podcast, that we made another podcast, a meditation podcast called Daily Guidance. And I always advise to those who would like to do meditation or try it or go into this method to listen to it. But I would like to share my experience about it, that of course I work with them, so I know all these meditation talks, I publish them, and I mean they are like, all of them like my children. And still I listen to them, and sometimes I just start it and I'm not there fully focused with my attention on all the words, but it's just going, and it's so pulling within. It just takes you with it. It's just like transports you into another state of consciousness. It's just beautiful to listen to it, just to have it going on. And sometimes I go back to the beginning and I start it and I just let it go. And comes one, the other, and it's just so beautiful the way it goes, the voice, and then comes always the mantra again as you sing it, and then again the talking, and it's just extremely relaxing, and I find it very uplifting for the consciousness. It's like very meditative, this meditation podcast, so I highly advise to everyone to try this experience. So, thank you very much, dear Master, to be here with me on this auspicious and precious day. And thank you very much to share all these things with all of us. And as always, next episode comes after 2 weeks. And if anybody has any questions or anything to say about the podcast, you're most welcome to send your comment to the siriopodcast@gmail.com. And if you like this episode, you're welcome to leave a comment underneath. And now we can listen to a beautiful mantra.
Om
Namah
Savana Savana Namah.
God bless.
Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Savana Savana Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Kirpal Kirpal Namah. Om Namah Ajaibo Ajaibo Namah. Om Namah Jaibo Ajaibo Namah Om Namah Jaibo Ajaibo Namah Ajaibo Namah